Game development is not as easy as you think. You won't know how much coding is needed for each mechanics. You don't know how long it takes to get each of them perfectly coded. Even the smallest detail needs to be carefully crafted so that the end result is not buggy and the fan base itself won't become insane. Because nowadays people will just complain on anything. Gaming development is not that fun. We keep hearing lots of controversies here and there, especially from AAA companies. It's even harder when you try to work with them and associate yourself with those mess. And that's where indie developer comes in. Those indie folks came up with some of the most creative ideas alongside new IP that gained a lot of traction. The quality of those games was so good that they could rival the big company. And while it could be fun, making a game by yourself, to try to sell your game, you need big influencers to succeed. Some are willing to help you, some just disappear into thin air. The story begins in January 19, 2013. A user by the name of Pelikan13 released the first ever trailer for 90s arcade racer, which garnered a lot of attention. If we pay closer attention, you can see the dedication being put into the game. The graphics look pretty clean even by 2013 standards, and like I said earlier, if you put this game with a AAA company game side by side, even newcomer will be impressed. Not to mention, the environment itself are stunning. There's a lot of attention to detail being added to every single layers of material on the track. The track themselves took a lot of inspiration from classic arcade racer, and you can see the creativity by Pelikan to try to make it as similar in terms of experience in order to make the player feel right at home. And I gotta say, he did a good job, which can be seen in the second video revealing the surrounding in November of that year. Due to the overwhelming response from the fans, obviously the project didn't take that long to reach its goal on Kickstarter, with a total of 700 passionate backers, making the dream possible. Sure, despite update being scarce and the fact that there's no demo being released, fans were still hopeful for the day the game will be released. As someone used to say, a delayed game will always be good. Or so they thought. Fans will be patiently waiting for sure. For sure. For sure. Enter Nicalis, a company that most people recognize nowadays. The developer of multiple hits including Cave Story and Binding of Isaac, which I haven't played yet, so you have to tell me if it's good or not. Apart from that, they are also known as the juggernaut of publishing, as they were the company that published some of the popular games from different companies onto different systems. In February 13, 2013, it is confirmed that the company will be collabing with Pelikan to develop the game that everyone anticipated. According to this announcement, not only Pelikan will be developing the game on his end, but also Nicalis will be co-developing the game as well before publishing it under their name. It is safe to say that Pelikan gave the rights to Nicalis to work on the game for the finishing touch. Nothing wrong here. The game was scheduled to be released on PC, mobile devices, and Wii U. You know, the console of that time. Everything seems to be going well so far, and the game is on its way towards the checkered flag. Welcome to Victory Lane, you made it! But then, The game suddenly took a detour, deviated from the course, and heads off somewhere, never to be seen again. And that's the last time anyone heard from the game until this very day. So, what happened? Well, my long research finally brought an answer to me. It turns out Nicalis is not that simple of a company, and they have a dark side. According to an article from Kotaku in 2019, yeah, Kotaku. Can we even trust that site? Nicalis is a subject to multiple allegations regarding the working environment within the company being extremely toxic. Exhibit A, Tyrone Rodriguez, the president of Nicalis. On the outside, he looks like a cool guy that you both can get along easily, but that's not the case. In the article, some of the employees stated that he is a control freak, racist, and just straight up rude. It's not the holiday program, it's the truth. Man, even putting your elbows on the table is considered rude. You know something is very wrong with this guy. I mean, you just put your elbows on the table. You did not block someone else's position, you just put your elbows on the table, which doesn't take too much space. What is wrong with that? As for the racism, yeah, it feels like he can do anything he wants and doesn't think about the consequences at all. The amount of vulgar language he spewed out just makes me cringe. I mean, just look at this and tell me if this guy is still mentally intact. It's no wonder that some of the employees either got fired for standing up for themselves or just left on their own because they can't take it anymore. The working ethical is non-existent in this place. Maybe because of this arrogant behavior that brings me to the real reason of all this mess. Exhibit B, ghosting. The definition of ghosting is the practice of ending a personal relationship with someone by suddenly and without explanation withdrawing from all communication. Now, communication is very important, especially in this day and age. You met a lot of people, and of course you need to form a bunch of communication to have both sides on the same track. Whether it is between your family, talking to your friends, if you have any anyway, or just ordering some food. I swear I have been waiting for 30 minutes and my pineapple pizza hasn't arrived yet. I am hungry now. Where is the delivery man? It is okay if you rarely communicate, but at least say something instead of being silent. Something that Nicalis doesn't seem to understand. They have a good amount of track record regarding ghosting, and it is just ridiculous. Here's some example. Enter the Gungeon was released in 2016 and in my opinion, better than Exit the Gungeon. David Crooks, the developer, approached Tyrone to talk about porting to PS4, to which the latter agrees. They got their source code and went radio silent, regardless of how many times David and Devolver messaged them, and ultimately looked for someone else to get the job done. Furry, which I hope I pronounced it right, is developed by the game Bakers. The hack and slash game was meant to be ported to Switch, according to the discussion, to Nicalis. And you guess it, the latter never make any response at all. And let's not forget the refusal of Nicalis to release patch updates for some of the games, claiming that he doesn't receive any email.
Simple challenge. I call bullshit on that.
You can see the incompetence of Nicalis and their poor management of different games, and I haven't even touched the part where they quote-unquote stole Cave Story from Pixels. But that's not what I want to talk about today. We are here to talk about the disappearance of 90s arcade racer. Due to the example I mentioned above, now it is not too hard to guess the fate of the aforementioned game, and Nicalis once again claimed another victim for their tradition in ghosting. As time went on, gaming also evolved into the new generation. So what happened next? Well, Nicalis did the most logical thing by scrapping the Wii U version and moving on to Nintendo Switch while remaining the same on PlayStation 4 and Steam. But that's not just that. They also went the extra mile by changing the name of 90s Arcade Racer to 90s Super GP, which I think sounds more appropriate, in my opinion. After a short tweet on August 2nd, 2016, hopes were reignited once more. Maybe this time the game could be released? Haha, of course not. Just like good old Nicalis, they went radio silent with the game into the darkness until today, leaving tons of fans to wonder if they will ever play it while they are alive. Almost the same situation as Reverse. Although there are evidence pointing to the fact that the game still exists somewhere in the world, but all of us still craving for the experience by ourselves. Seriously, what is holding them back? From the looks of the screenshot, the game looks complete and it can be released right away. So just release it quickly for f***'s sake. By being quiet the whole time, not explaining anything, it just drives people away from supporting your company. And that's the story of 90s Arcade Racer, a promising game that fell onto the hand of an incompetent company. This is just the tip of the strawberry cake though, because there are much more shady stuff that Nicalis did, but that's a story for another day. In a few months' time, the game will turn 10 years since it was first announced, and until now, nobody can still play it. Pelikan, why don't you just release the demo back then? With the world being inconsistent nowadays, we don't know how long we're gonna able to live. We don't know when we will meet our terrible fate. So it is important that we do everything right now, including telling your crush that you like her, and of course, releasing 90s Super GP. Come on, just do it already. This is also a message to all indie developers out there to pick your choices carefully, because just look at this. You don't want your product to be a waste of potential, right? So next time you want someone to publish your game, just be careful. You will thank me later. Imagine if Criterion Games made Burnout 3, but EA never bothered to release the game. That will be a darker future, don't you think? While I'm researching for this topic, I also found a theory that Sega wrote a letter to Nicalis, which could make things even more clear. But it still doesn't make sense. Mind you, the last time Sega took down some fan game is during the time when 90s Arcade Racer still haven't existed yet. And with Sega nowadays being open-minded with fan creation, I don't see them doing so. But hey, that's just a theory. A Sega theory. Bottom line, 90s Arcade Racer is an ambitious project from a guy that loves Arcade Racer, and this is his love letter to the world, but ultimately succumb to this company here. I'm still gonna wait for the game to come out eventually, but until that day comes, this story will remain in a missing archive. Thanks for watching.